Do you remember the black strip, how long it was? And do you remember when we talked about the coming of life and we looked at the timeline of life? Today, we're going to shrink that whole black strip, all that time, and we're going to transform it into a clock. This looks like a clock, but instead of a normal clock that has, white space with the two hands, this clock has been divided up into different colors, with each different color representing a different time period. Let's start at 12, because we know that clocks start at 12 o'clock. And this clock starts at 12 and it goes all the way around until we're back at 12. So it's just like a regular clock, it's just used to represent something a little different. Let's look at this. This first section, right here, starting at 12, this black section here that goes from 12 to 1:33. This section of the clock represents the Hadean eon. This is the time in which the Earth's crust was formed. So if we're imagining that on our clock the time represented from 12 to 1:33 with a few seconds represents the Hadean eon. That's what was happening right here. The Earth's crust was being formed. Then let's look at the next section. From 1:33 to 5:29. So at 5:29, at 29 minutes past 5, this is called the Archean eon. This is the time when it was raining and raining and raining and raining, and the Earth's crust was busy cooling down. Do you remember in our black strip story we talked about how long it rained for, and we talked about what the first drop of rain on the Earth must have sounded like, how it must have sizzled because of how hot the Earth's surface was? That's this era here, from 1:33 to 5:29. At some point towards the end of this time around here, if you remember the story, this is when our jellyfish arrived. Our jellyfish brought balance by eating up all the mineral salt in the oceans. And from 5:29 all the way to 10:35, we have this light yellow section here. This is called the Proterozoic eon. Now, Proterozoic means early life, and this time on our clock represents the time of those one-celled organisms that lived in the ocean following out their law, and their law was to eat all of the mineral salt and to multiply themselves. So this section, this whole section here, represents that time. Next, from 10:35 to 11:20, we have the Paleozoic era. Here it's represented by this blue. Paleo means very, very old, and zoic means life, as we know from our other work. And so this represents the life of the cephalopods and all those creatures that were living in the ocean. So this is when ocean life was vibrant and diverse, and that's what was happening on the Earth at that time. Next, from 11:20 to 11:49, which is a smaller period if you'll notice, we have the Mesozoic eon. Now, Mesozoic means middle. So this is what we describe as the middle era. And this is when life finally came to the land. And this is the age of the lizard. And by lizard, of course, I mean dinosaur. And that went on for a shorter period. Do we notice that? How much shorter the periods are getting? And then from 11:49, which is ending right here, can you see? To 11:59, so for 10 seconds, we have this very narrow part. And that is the time of the mammals. the big mammals, like the woolly mammoths, the cave bears, the giant kangaroos. We call this period, this very thin period here, represented in the grey, the Cenozoic period. Cenio means recent, as in the most recent life before us. So that's what we say, Cenozoic, recent life. And then, right after that, we have about 24 seconds. Now, if you look very carefully, you can see a very, very narrow red space. And that red space is about 24 seconds in the time of our clock, and it represents the time of all humanity. The Quaternary era. And that's when all of mankind has lived. Do you remember on the red strip at the end of the black strip, and we talked about how all of humanity lived in that red strip? Well, it's the same here. For all of this time, the earth has been getting prepared for man, and then man arrives for about 24 seconds in comparison to the rest. Now, that's my story for today. I'm going to leave this chart out here on the table if you'd like to look at it some more. And on another day, I will come back and I will show you this key to the clock of eras, which just has some more information about the periods. So have fun looking at it.